Meet Jake, an ordinary guy from a small town in America. His story isn't about overnight success or being born into wealth. No, Jake's story is about struggle, perseverance, and triumph. It begins in a rundown apartment where bills piled up faster than he could pay them, and exhaustion is his constant companion. Jake worked 4 jobs, yes 4, to keep his head above water barely. A retail job by day, driving for rideshare apps at night, cleaning offices in the early mornings, and delivering food on the weekends. Each day blurred into the next, with no end in sight. Jake wasn't just exhausted physically. He was emotionally drained too. His friends were settling down, buying homes and starting families while he barely had time to eat, let alone think about his future. His body ached, his mind raced, and there were nights he questioned whether any of it was even worth it. He felt trapped in a never-ending cycle of financial survival, caught between the crushing weight of debt and the tiny glimmers of hope that maybe, just maybe, one day things would change. But change felt impossible. One night, after a particularly grueling 16-hour day, Jake collapsed onto his worn-out couch. The weight of the world seemed unbearable. The apartment was dark, not because he liked it that way, but because he couldn't afford the electricity bill. He sat there in silence, staring at his phone, scrolling through pictures of people he knew living their best lives. It hit him like a freight train. He wasn't living, he was merely existing. The dream of financial freedom, or even just living comfortably, felt so far out of reach that it was laughable. His chest tightened, and tears rolled down his face. He had hit rock bottom. And then, something shifted inside of him. Maybe it was the raw desperation, or perhaps the realization that his life would only continue this way if he didn't take control. Jake wiped his tears, sat up straight, and started researching. Late into the night, he watched videos about people who had been in similar situations and managed to turn their lives around. The most common theme? Smart investments and side hustles that turned into businesses. Something clicked. Maybe, just maybe, he didn't have to work himself into the ground forever. Jake made a decision that night. Instead of working harder at his dead-end jobs, he would work smarter. He began dedicating his precious few spare hours to learning about investments, side hustles, and passive income. At first, it was overwhelming. Stocks, real estate, e-commerce. It all seemed like a foreign language. But Jake was no stranger to hard work. Just like he juggled 4 jobs, he would juggle learning these new skills, even if it meant sacrificing sleep. He started small, investing the little he had in a few shares of stock. At first, nothing happened, and doubt crept in. But Jake wasn't about to give up. He took risks, learning from every mistake along the way. He started an online business selling niche products. Nothing fancy, but something he could manage during his breaks at work. Slowly but surely, his efforts began to pay off. 1 year later, Jake wasn't working 4 jobs anymore. He had left 2 of them and was focusing on his online business, which was now turning a profit. He had also diversified his stock portfolio, reinvesting any gains to grow his wealth. The extra cash allowed him to pay off debts that had been hanging over his head for years. And for the first time in a long time, Jake could breathe. The dark days of scraping by were behind him. 2 years after that sleepless night on his couch, Jake was unrecognizable from the person he had once been. He had quit his last job and was working for himself full-time. His online business had exploded, and his investments were providing him with steady returns. He was no longer a man merely surviving, but one who was thriving. Financial freedom wasn't just a dream anymore, it was his reality. Jake wasn't just proud of his financial success. He was proud of the person he had become along the way. The man who didn't quit when life got hard, who didn't stop pushing even when he was at his lowest. He had learned the value of persistence, of making smart decisions, and of believing in himself when no one else did. Jake's story is a powerful reminder that no matter how dire your circumstances may seem, change is always possible. His journey wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight. But by taking calculated risks, learning from failures, and refusing to give up, Jake transformed his life from one of endless work and financial struggle to a life of wealth and freedom. If Jake, an ordinary guy from a small town, could do it, so can you. Have you ever faced a moment in your life where everything seemed hopeless? What steps did you take to turn things around? We'd love to hear your stories. Share your experiences in the comments below. Your journey might inspire someone else who's struggling right now. Let's support each other on our paths to success.